So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about one thing that you can start doing today, literally today, to help you overcome anxiety. It's literally one thing. And it's probably the only thing that you really need. No matter how many tactics you use, no matter how many people you work with, this is the one thing that's going to change your perception of anxiety so that you go forward and you tackle anxiety for good. I imagine you're going on a date. It's your first date, and as you're walking in, you see the person in front of you, someone you're attracted to, you find them hot, beautiful, all of these things, and you're going over, you're nervous, and deep within you, you know that you need to be confident, you need to appear authentic, all of these things. But as you start talking, you start stuttering, you start sweating, you start getting more and more hotter, more warmer. And it's very normal to be anxious on your first date. Very normal. But the problem is when your anxiety overtakes your normal mannerisms, it takes over your normal behavior, and all of a sudden you're doing things that aren't authentic to you. You're doing things that come across as weird, all in an effort to hide your anxiety. And so a lot of people suffer from anxiety. It's very normal these days. You will see people all over social media talking about it. And although anxiety can be seen as something distant, as something terrible, something bad happening to us, it's actually a protective mechanism. Despite you thinking that all these symptoms that you're getting from anxiety is terrible, and yes, they may feel terrible in that moment, they're actually there to keep you safe. And I'll go more deeper into this in my next videos. But if you want to read about this, make sure you check out my cheat sheets that you can download on my website. The link is down below. But essentially, anxiety stems from part of your brain called the lizard brain. It's the oldest reptilian part of your mind. And essentially, in this part is where you process your emotions, your feelings, all of these things. And sometimes our body, our brain, our mind perceives things as being a threat to us. And it may not always be a threat, but we perceive it as a threat, and in response, we have an anxious response. And the anxious response is very similar to a fear response, but an anxious response is often not useful at all. Our body essentially, you can describe it as confused. Our mind, our body is all confused, and we're overreacting to things. To put it bluntly, of course, it's more complicated than that. And so when you're suffering from an anxious response or an anxiety, panic attack, all of these things, it can feel very, very overwhelming. It can feel like you have no control over your body, over your mind, and it feels like you're helpless, you're a victim, and many more things. And it's really important to understand that anxiety can be managed. You can overcome anxiety. You can gain more control over these responses. Yes, throughout life, you're always going to have some level of anxiety, but not to the point where it's debilitating, not to the point where it's stopping you from doing the things that you want to do, not to the point where it's stopping you from really being authentic. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about one thing that you can start doing today, literally today, to help you overcome anxiety. It's literally one thing, and it's probably the only thing that you really need. No matter how many tactics you use, no matter how many people you work with, this is the one thing that's going to change your perception of anxiety so that you go forward and you tackle anxiety for good. Yes, you can go and learn things about anxiety, what anxiety is, educate yourself about anxiety. This is important. Yes, you can take approaches to overcoming your fears, overcoming those things that trigger your anxiety, small steps towards those things. Yes, all of that is important, and you need to kind of go on that path to overcome anxiety. But before you do all of that, there's one thing you need to do, and I'm going to be talking about that in this video. But before I go into that, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. It really does help the channel grow, and there might be other people who need to listen to these videos, who need to take away these messages, so please do share. And also, make sure you check out my new podcast, the South Asian Men Space Podcast. It's a podcast aimed for men or people who identify as South Asian men, and essentially it's all about mental health, being vulnerable, expressing yourself, speaking about things, taboo topics, all of these things. So if you know anyone interested also, make sure you share it with them so they can also come on and share whatever they have to share. But otherwise, let's go into the one thing that you need today. So the one thing that you need today, before you start reading about anxiety, before you start going on and taking action on overcoming anxiety by facing those things that make you anxious, the one thing that you need today is to have that courage, have the mindset, the attitude to go into facing your fears and stay with that fear or that anxiety and know that you can overcome it. Even if it's a small thing that you're trying to overcome, a small thing that triggers you, that makes you anxious, even if you're trying to overcome that, you have to go in when you're trying to face that thing, whatever it is. Let's say you're going on a first date and that's got to make you anxious and you know it. No matter how much anxiety it provokes in you, it triggers in you, you have to go in there and be comfortable, have the attitude, the mindset, all of these things to sit there and embrace it. You have to be able to tolerate the anxiety with willingness. You have to know that, yes, this is uncomfortable. Yes, my body is freaking out. Yes, I feel like I have no control. I feel helpless. I feel like a victim. I look embarrassed. I'm embarrassing right now. I am embarrassing myself right now. No matter how you feel in that moment, you have to be comfortable and tolerate that feeling. You have to learn to be comfortable and tolerate that feeling. And it's not easy. It's very hard. It's going to take several repetitions of practice, of facing that fear, facing that thing that makes you anxious. It's going to take several minutes, hours, weeks, months, even years for some of you. But as you go on this journey and you go in with the attitude that I'm going to do this, I'm going to be determined, I'm going to face that thing that makes me anxious. And as you do so, and as you couple it with the education, to educating about how anxiety actually forms in your mind and your body, the thoughts that are coming up, as you educate yourself about the feelings that come up, as you go on this journey, that's how you're going to overcome anxiety. But you have to, at some point, look in the mirror and be like, I need to do this. And you can start with something super small. It could be as simple as asking for directions when you're going out. If you're someone who's afraid of social anxiety, it could be that. For some of you, it may be more difficult. It may be other things that you're anxious about. And in which case, you can talk to your therapist to kind of distill the things that you need to face. But otherwise, you have to find a way to take small steps willfully and knowingly tolerate those feelings that are coming up, because you have to be able to build a body where you can tolerate these feelings of anxiety, tolerate and accept these feelings of anxiety. Because if you don't, you're always going to be pushing it away. You're always going to be running away from it. And as you run away from it, as you push it away, your mind is going to reinforce that feeling of anxiety over and over and over again. And again, there is science behind this. I will go through this in subsequent videos. But for now, the main message I want you to take away from this video is you have to be willfully, you have to be willingly be able to tolerate those feelings that come up. Knowing that these thoughts, these emotions, these sensations that you're feeling will not kill you. They will not dictate your life forever. You can overcome it. And the moment this clicks in your head, the moment this realization comes in, the moment you maybe face something that's causing you to be anxious and you come away from it and you realize that, oh, actually, I'm okay. I'm still breathing. Yes, I might have embarrassed myself. Yes, I may have looked stupid, but I'm okay. I'm here. I've survived. That thing in my head that was telling me that this thing was going to kill me, I've survived it. The moment that happens, that moment, that eureka moment happens, everything changes, because all of a sudden you're able to go forward now with more confidence, with more courage, and face your anxiety. And as you face it over and over again, you're going to be able to tackle it and overcome it completely. But it takes time, like I said, and I can't give you an estimation of when that time will be. But the moment you decide to commit, maybe the moment that you decide to work with a therapist or coach or someone who's going to help you, that knows you, who's able to offer you a safe environment to help you, the moment you find that person, maybe, then you can push yourself more. Or you can work with people around you that support you, that love you, that are there for you, that can call you out when you need to be called out, that can support you when you need to be supported. If you have that support system, even better. But regardless, you have to go in to the things that trigger your anxiety, knowing that you'll come out of it alive. And some of you will listen to this and you're like, oh, but Jags, you don't understand. I've had panic attacks where I feel like I'm dying. And I've been there. I've had those panic attacks. And it's scary. It feels like shit. Like this might be it. And every time I've been able to come through it, every time I've told myself, you know what, this is scary as hell, but I'm determined to survive this. And every time I've gone through it, I've overcome it, I've reflected on it, talked to people about it, talked to professionals about it, I've been able to grow even more. And the things that used to make me anxious don't make me anxious anymore. Yes, I still get anxiety attacks here and there. Things trigger my anxiety. Things make me feel uncomfortable. Things make me sweat. That's like one of the main things that I used to suffer from, like a lot of sweating. And yes, I suffer from the symptoms, but, and a big but, I'm able to tolerate a lot more than I used to. And in fact, a lot more people around me think I'm more confident because I'm able to do things that they aren't able to do anymore. Or things that they weren't able to do and they didn't really try and push themselves to do. And the only reason I'm able to do those things, for example, making videos on YouTube, is because I was able to confront those things that triggered my anxiety, and in my head I had the attitude that I was going to overcome this. I read about anxiety, I learned about anxiety, and I learned that actually I am able to overcome anxiety and I can essentially rewire my nervous system. I can change my nervous system so it isn't triggered as often, so that I feel more confident and comfortable in situations and I don't profusely sweat. It's only when I was able to do this that my life changed. So, in this video, I've talked about one thing only, and that's one attitude, one mindset shift. Some of you will get it, some of you won't yet. But keep learning about anxiety, keep reading books. I can recommend books if you want. Keep taking action towards confronting those things that trigger your anxiety, one small step at a time. Some people do it, go all in and they face that big thing. But that's some people. You don't have to do that. Other people just have a coach or a therapist and they work with those people. You can do that too. But whatever choice you do, know that you can overcome your anxiety. And yes, there's many different layers to this, many different caveats to this, but if you really look at it, the one thing that you need to do today is be able to willfully tolerate those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings that come up when you're anxious, and know that you can overcome this. And if it really helps, go online and look up people who have overcome anxiety. There are abundant full of people who have done this, and if you listen to them, if you study them, you'll understand that they all had this one attitude, this one mindset. And like I said, for some people it's going to take time to really clicking and realize that you can overcome this. For other people, it'll feel like you're helpless, you're a victim, like this is never going to end. And If that's you, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I know it's difficult, but like I said, find a therapist that can help you, because there are great therapists out there that will help you come to this realization and help you overcome your anxiety, or at least manage it 10 times better, 100 times better than you're managing it right now. My name's been Jag. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you've taken one thing away from this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe and comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.